So, Jim, Caligula, Nightmare Sisters, Tinto Brass, David Dakota, which film do you prefer?
I have to go with Nightmare Sisters.
Make your case.
I don't think I have to. I think Caligula makes its own case. Really, the only thing I really enjoyed about Caligula was the set design and the costumes.
Some of the performances.
Yes, yeah, some of the performances.
Peter O'Toole, some of Malcolm McDowell.
Yeah, but the whole movie...
Teresa Ann Savoy was fine.
It was just such a slog.
I like how she kept calling him Little Boots.
Yeah, Little Boots. Cute. And I wonder where that...
Because that's what Caligula means, I think, in Latin.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. But it's just such a slog to get through.
Yeah, it is a slog. It's one of the longest movies we've watched on this podcast, really outside of Once Upon a Time in the West and maybe the director, because we watched the director's cut of Aliens. But yeah, it's absurdly long, and it's not even the longest version of it, which is another thing I call into question. If the main complaint was about them adding sex stuff, why is the more definitive version 20 minutes longer?
Yeah.
Answer me that, 91-year-old Italian director Tinto Brass. Answer me that. Or answer me that, Malcolm McDowell. You're the one who endorsed the film. Tinto Brass still hasn't done anything with it. I mean, it is possible that in addition to adding a lot of hardcore stuff, Guccione cut a lot of good scenes. I will admit that's a possibility. I question it. Let me ask you something else, Jim, before I get to which of these two films that I prefer. Are you surprised to learn that there are unofficial Italian Caligula sequels?
No, I'm not surprised.
At least one film was made, directed by schlock auteur Bruno Mattei. He directed a film, I think, called Caligula 2 Messalina.
Oh, you know
which
what?
is like a terrible title.
I read that.
And then just recently I found out that it's basically a parody, and it's like, oh, that makes a little bit more sense because the title's silly.
I read that, and apparently Caligula was supposed to come out in like 77, but it kept on getting pushed back to 79.
Yeah,
right?
I was surprised to see that the film was shot in 76, and I'm like, why wasn't it released until 79? I didn't really know.
Well, then that movie that you just mentioned, what was it called?
Caligula 2 Messalina.
Yeah, so the original title is just Messalina, and it came out in Italy before Caligula.
Oh.
But in some places in the world, it was released after Caligula.
As Caligula 2. Yeah,
so exactly. Okay. So people thought it was actually connected to Caligula, and it actually
was
not.
It should be noted, Bruno Mattei, the director, also famously directed a film released in countries without functioning copyright laws as Terminator 2. And this was a film that actually predates Terminator 2 Judgment Day, but it's actually ripping off another James Cameron movie because it's it's such a blatant ripoff of Aliens. It's amazing. It's actually a fun exploitation film in its own right.
All right, you bunch of pussies, I'm back and I'm kicking ass.
The U.S. title is Shocking Dark because legally they couldn't release it as Terminator 2. But that's a good one. I like that. I own that one on Blu-ray.
Okay.
I have a problem, Jim.
Yeah, it's okay. I appreciate your problem.
That one I think is Severin Films, not Vinegar Syndrome. I think Severin Films is more the Bruno Mattei stuff. But, Jim, I also prefer Nightmare Sisters. For me, this is a slam dunk. This is not close. I kind of hated Caligula. I respect the artistry and craftsmanship of the costumes, of the sets, of even some of the performances, of certainly the music, Bruno Nicolai, and I just have no idea what the hell they were trying to do with the story or the themes. Again, I insist that I think the Guccione hardcore inserts are relatively fitting for the movie. I just think it's a bad movie regardless of that.
Yeah.
And Nightmare Sisters doesn't have even the budget for insert shots. I mean, they don't even have edits in the film. It's amazing. But it's a funny film.
It is.
It gets some laughs out of me. Not a ton of laughs. Your gut doesn't get a workout, but you get some laughs and some relatively big ones.
And the film knows what it is. It knows that it's not a great grand movie. It's not trying to be a horror movie. It's trying to be like this silly sex comedy.
Yeah, is it perfect? Hell no. The camera needs to move. Dookie Flyswatter needs to not do the Indian accent. We need a close-up here or there. The film needs to be edited at all. but it's still kind of a funny movie. It's a charming movie. In their heyday, I believe they've, like, because Bring Stevens, Michelle Bauer, Linnea Caligula, they, like, still appear in, like, low-budget schlock. They've probably made a ton of movies together at this point. Mm-hmm. But at the time, this was, like, in their prime, they only made 2 movies together. It's this and Sorority Babes and the Slime Ball Bolorama. I think this film is significantly better than Sorority Babes. I don't know if I have a good argument for why. Maybe I'd need to see that one again, but this one just was funny to me. The exception of a very funny George Buckflower performance in Sorority Babes and the Slime Ball Bolorama. You don't get much out of that movie except for the incredible Michelle Bauer nudity. I don't think Linnea is even topless in that film. I could be wrong. I enjoy Nightmare Sisters. If you like B-movies...
Yeah, then that's
if you like these 3 actresses, whether for their comic timing or for their bodies, like, you get something out of it. Mm-hmm. So, Jim, do you think... this is a good drive-in double feature? Caligula, Nightmare Sisters. Your thoughts?
No. No. Because I never want to see Caligula ever again. And that's it. I'm just like, I'm so over this movie.
Let's say your first time ever watching Caligula was the first half of a Caligula, Nightmare Sisters double feature. You still hate it?
If it was the first half of Caligula?
No. If that was the first half of the double feature. I'm not saying you have to see it again. I'm saying you have already seen the 2 films together.
No. No. It's over. I don't...
Listen, 2 hour and 36-minute movies don't work well as part of double features. And yes, Nightmare Sisters is short, but Caligula takes a lot out of you.
It does. It's such an exhausting thing to sit through. And on top of that, if I had never seen Caligula before, and you said, hey, let's go see a double feature, Caligula and Nightmare Sisters... I'd be like, oh, hey, isn't that the movie?
Where Mr. Magoo kills himself in a pool.
Yeah, and it's notorious for, like a million orgy scenes and stuff. And you'd be like, yeah, and I'd say, I think I'm good.
Only 100.
But I'd say, no, I think I'm good, thanks. Also, maybe it's just me, but a strange pornographic movie about a Roman emperor doesn't really mix well with a sex comedy that was shot in 4 days.
Also, can I just say that, like, as far as scenes that go on for absurdly long periods of time, the orgy scene with the senator's wives versus the bathtub scene, how much more enjoyable and just in on it that everyone was in Nightmare Sisters? Like, every actress knows what they're... I mean, I know, like, I was joking, like, the actresses literally don't know what they're doing because they don't know why the scene's so long. But, like, they know why the scene's in the movie, at least. As opposed to Malcolm McDowell didn't even know that was going on in the movie, and Tinto Brass didn't either.
Yeah, exactly. I think just everything surrounding Caligula just makes it such a disgusting movie. The way it was made, how it pissed everybody off, how pretty much nobody except for Helen Mirren and Malcolm McDowell wanted to be involved in this movie.
I don't even know how Malcolm McDowell felt about it. I know he obviously endorsed the extended cut, but I don't know what he had to say about the theatrical version. He might have hated it too. We all know it led to more and more Peter O'Toole drinking.
Oh.